Hey everyone, welcome to The Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson. My guest today is a beautiful soul sister and intuitive, Brandi Khan. Welcome,
Hi.
Brandi. Thank you for joining
Hi.
me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's so great to have you here. And I should have done this a long time ago, but it always works out right on time. So I'm glad you could be
Right.
here today and
Right.
share your journey with us.
Yes, thank you.
I met Brandi several years ago. We're friends, and we met in a development circle, which was a really cool opportunity for us to really come together with a group of other women and develop all of our psychic gifts. And
Right.
we both experienced tremendous growth from that experience. That was probably around 2016, maybe 2015.
2016. Yes, because yeah.
And so we've been friends ever since. And it's so
Yes.
great to have you on my show as a guest. I wanted to
Thank
start
you.
by asking you if you have always been intuitive or been aware of your gifts, or did they come online a little bit later in life?
So when I was younger, I was always aware that I could sense things about people, or I could sense energy of places, or I could feel like if there was like a spirit person around. But I just assumed that everybody could do that, and that there was, it's just normal. So I didn't pay too much attention to it. And I do remember one time when I was 16, it was nighttime. It was a Saturday night, and my mom and her sister, my aunt, and we were all watching TV. And there was a show that used to come on that we loved on Saturday nights. It was called Showtime at the Apollo. And this was a brand new episode that came on that night. So anyway, there's a segment during this show, and it's called Amateur Night.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got people who come on and perform whatever talent they want. So this was a brand new episode, and before the first contestant came out, I said, hey, the next guy's going to sing when he comes out. He's going to sing. And so then the host asked the guy, what are you going to do? And he said, I'm going to sing. And then I turned to my mom and my aunt, and I said, he's going to sing A Ribbon in the Sky by Stevie Wonder.
What?
And the host, the host said, well, what are you going to sing, man? And he said, I'm going to sing A Ribbon in the Sky. And so my mom and aunt looked at each other, and nobody said anything. The second person came out, and I said, oh, she's a comedian. She's going to tell jokes. And then the television host asked her, what are you going to do? And she said, oh, I'm going to tell a few jokes. Okay, as they looked at each other again, the third person comes out, and I said, oh, she's going to dance. She's going to do a dance. That's exactly what she did. So at that point, my mom and my aunt looked at each other and said, Brandi, you've seen this before. Stop. You've already seen this before. And, I promised. I told her, no, I've never seen this. This is a new episode. But the message that I got from that was that somehow what I was doing was not okay. That somehow what I was doing was a little weird. And that even if I'm able to do it, I don't need to talk about it and tell other people. So I completely shut down. That was at 16 years old. I completely shut down.
So your mom and aunt don't have those same abilities?
Actually, they do. And
well, then how come they were kind of responding to you in that way?
I guess, in the mid 90s or whatever, there was still this stigma about it. And even, my grandmother had it, both grandmothers had it, aunts had it. But people who had this did not talk about it. You did not tell anybody about it because you didn't want anybody to think that you were crazy. Gotcha. And that's probably one of when I really discovered that I had these abilities. The first person that I really went to with this was my father. I went to my father and I talked to him about it. And he said, you know what, you can tell me anything you want. You can share anything you want with me. I'm always going to be here for you. But don't tell this to anybody else. Everybody will think you're crazy. Keep it to yourself.
Wow.
So that was, even as an adult, I struggled with that. I really wanted to stay hidden and not tell people about who I really was.
Isn't it interesting that the whole point of ascension is coming back and living our truth
Yes.
and finding our authentic voice and our authentic self. And yet those of us with all these gifts have been told that we're crazy.
Yes.
So that forced us to actually separate from our authentic self to try and fit in with society.
Right.
So many of us, that's our story, right?
Right.
And
Exactly.
it takes, I mean, obviously it's all by design.
Mm-hmm.
It's all exactly as it needs to be. And we all have our experiences and live our lives and have everything that triggers us and creates this growth that brings us ultimately back to
Right.
finding our true nature. But isn't it interesting that so many of us who have gifts have this, experience this sense of what you're doing is crazy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Or that, yeah,
there's
you're not
something,
normal somehow.
yeah,
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
definitely not normal. And
Right.
so don't draw attention to yourself. Don't
Exactly.
say anything,
Exactly.
And so that was one of the nice things about, for me with that development circle is to be in a sacred space with people who weren't going to judge,
Right.
right? And
Exactly.
foster growth for each other. So that was
Right.
really great opportunity for both of us,
Right.
I think. So when did you start to really come online? You kind of suppressed it for a while. You're a mom. How many children do you have, Brandi?
I have 4.
So Brandi is a mother of 4. She homeschools all 4 of them. They're all in competitive travel sports. They are high academic achievers. Oh, I don't know where she went. She disappeared for a second. There you are.
Yeah. Okay.
I lost you for a sec.
Yeah.
But her life is full, full, full. So I don't know
Right.
how you have managed to, navigate this unfolding of all your beautiful psychic gifts and all of the, expansion of consciousness while you are firmly anchored in the 3D world, coordinating everything with your family. I know
Yeah.
family first, and I know you're so
Yeah.
committed to your children, and your husband is a doctor, and he's gone a lot because he's working at the
Yeah.
hospital. So
Yeah.
how have you done that? How have you managed to not, keep a foot in both worlds and keep
Well,
your sanity,
yeah, it's actually quite it's been quite difficult for me, but what I've come to understand was, I guess for a particular period in my life, like, late 20s and all throughout my 30s, my energy and focus and everything was really on family, and it was really on my children. It was really on educating my children. Now that they're older and they're becoming more independent, I have more time to devote to, I guess, my spiritual pursuits and the spiritual aspect of life. But one thing that I've always done throughout the last few years to try to keep myself, a foot in both this world and still being aware of my divine nature, my practice of meditation every single day was absolutely a non-negotiable for me. So, and my kids will tell you that the first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning still is meditate. I've always held to that practice very, very strongly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's your sacred space and time.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. That's great that you're able to carve that out and make that a
Yeah.
priority.
Right.
Yeah. I know when your dad was ill, you
Yeah.
got some sort of messages, and I was wondering if you'd be open to sharing
Oh, of course.
that
Of course.
experience and how that shaped you and impacted you, because I know it was a really pivotal
Yeah.
experience for you.
Yeah. So my dad, that was late 2016, and kind of just to set the story up a little bit more. So earlier in 2016, I had begun to really seek out mediumship. I had someone tell me, your spirit guides say you're a medium. And I never thought of myself as a medium. I watch all these people on TV like John Edward, and I thought, oh my gosh, he's been like that since he was 2 years old. That's not for me. I can't do any of that. And, it's just not me.
Mm-hmm.
So I had begun to search a little bit more into that in early 2016. And I was reading pictures of people who were passed and trying to connect with the energy. Okay, so that was early 2016. So then one day in August of 2016, I decided to sit down and meditate. And I told myself, I said, you know what? You're always trying with the pictures. Why not try to connect with spirit without a picture in front of you? Why not try to go into meditation and then just see who shows up? So I set that intention one day in August, one evening in August 2016. And I said, spirit guides, just have someone come from the spirit world so that I can learn from them, so that I can see that this is real and I don't need the picture. So anyway, I go into meditation and a gentleman shows up. I can see he's African American. I don't know who he is. I've never seen him. I've never met him before. But right away, he tells me that his name is Earl. I'm like, okay, hi, Earl. How do I know you? He said, I know your father. He gave me a couple more pieces of evidence to validate who he was. And at the end, he said, I need to tell you, your father's not doing well. Your father's not doing well. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what you're talking about because my dad is fine. Mm-hmm. But okay. So, when I finished with that, I went back and forth about, am I going to call my dad and tell him this or no? Because I think I just really all made it up in my head. Anyway, I decided to call my dad. And I said, Daddy, you're probably going to think I'm crazy, but I just had a meditation. And this man in spirit came forward and said that he knew you, that he was a friend of yours. Do you know anybody named Earl? And of course, I was holding my breath. And, I was thinking he was going to say, no, I don't know anybody named Earl. Right. Actually, my dad said, yeah, I know Earl. And I said, he's passed, right? He's in spirit. He said, yeah. He said, Earl is the one that, after I left the band with B.B. King, Earl was the tenor sax who came in and took my place. And he said, Earl was actually quite pivotal in teaching me about spirituality.
Wow.
Earl was the one who introduced my father to the Rosicrucian order, which is a high spiritual order that my father was a part of, a member of. So he said, yeah, I know Earl. And I said, Daddy, I don't know what he's talking about. You don't have to share anything with me that you don't want to. But he told me that you're not doing well. Do you know what he's talking about? And my dad said, yeah, I just went to the doctor last week. And that was unbeknownst to me. And I'm like, okay, well, he just said that you weren't doing well. So I just wanted to pass that along. And he said, okay. And then 3 weeks later, my dad collapsed at home and died and was there for days before anybody found him. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a visit from spirit when really all I was seeking to do was validate that I didn't need to have a picture, that I was able to connect with spirit. It turned out to be life-changing for me because what Earl did when he came through, he told me something that was going to happen, in the next few weeks. He was giving me a head up and also giving my dad a head up that, things he wasn't doing well.
Yeah. Were you able to see your dad?
No.
Oh gosh.
That was actually really the last deep conversation that we had before he passed. I mean, he called one day just to ask a quick question, and it was like maybe a 2-minute conversation. That was the last time that I talked to him. But the dream about or the meditation and Earl coming in, that was our last meaningful dialogue.
Wow, it's really powerful.
Yeah.
Didn't you have something happen right when he passed, like your phone rang or someone was knocked out the door or something? Or
okay,
something happened?
Yeah, so my dad passed away late on a Monday night, probably around 11:30 p.m. is the estimated time of passing. And my father lived by himself. So, and he was retired, and there was nobody really looking for him. So he was not discovered in his house until Friday. A neighbor finally realized, the porch light never went off. And the neighbor knew where the extra key was, and he went in and found my father. But the weird thing about it was I was on Skype with a lady from Ireland doing a reading around 5:30 p.m. that Friday, right? All of a sudden, I get a call on my phone from Mississippi, from Jackson, Mississippi, which is where I'm from, where my dad lived. Of course, I'm in session. I can't answer, so I just press decline, and I don't think anything of it. So that call came in at 5:30. My father was found at 6:30. And so when I was trying to figure out, okay, so who called me, who was calling me, I called the number back, and it was the number that was disconnected and no longer in service. So I almost felt as if my father was giving me a heads up before they were, before he was going to be found. And then the next day was a Saturday. I was at home alone, washing clothes, trying to get ready to pack up for the trip home for the funeral and everything. And as clear as day, I remember it. I was in the washroom, and my German Shepherd was in there with me, and I was loading clothes up, and the doorbell rang. Well, of course, she barks. She hears it too. She runs to the door. I make it to the door in about 15 seconds, and there's nobody there. There was nobody there. But I knew that was my father, letting me know that he was okay.
Oh, that just gave me goosebumps. That's such an amazing story. Wow, Brandi. So obviously your awareness and connection started to grow.
Yes.
After 2016, after the passing of your dad, with our development circle work we did together. What was that like for you, navigating that, and still kind of keeping it to yourself and really not being so out there? You didn't have a website at that time. You weren't really broadcasting that I have these gifts and this is who I am. And what was it like for you to have to kind of keep part of that aspect of yourself hidden?
Hiding a part of yourself is very disempowering. So I knew that, in hiding that particular aspect of myself and holding this fear of what other people were going to think when they found out about who I was, that was very,
uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's this little push-pull going on, and like inner conflicts, right? Like you're denying a part of yourself, but you can't because it's who you are, right?
Right. So the first thing that I did, I came out gradually. So at first
Baby
I came
steps.
out as, Reiki master, because I was like, okay, well, Reiki, it's kind of heading towards mainstream, and that's somewhat more accepted. And then as I began to grow and develop as an intuitive and a medium, I came out that way, and it was just all one day where, it was put on Facebook, and I really kind of had no choice about it, and I just said, oh well, whatever, let anybody think whatever.
Did you get a lot of pushback around that, or family response like, oh my gosh, what are you doing putting this out there on social media?
Not so much to my face, but I did hear like that some people were concerned, or like, what, is she really like that? What's that all about?
Yeah. People don't always understand us.
Right. That's so true. That's so true.
Right. And how did you've been so, very focused on your family. Family is your number one priority. So that occupies a lot of your time. So you're not really out there in the community. You're not regularly connecting with other people who are like-minded. Or what was that like for you as you were kind of growing and expanding in your consciousness? Because you didn't really talk to a lot of people about that. I mean, I know we talk on occasion, but not very often. Has it been a tough journey, navigating this on your own?
Very much so, because I feel like that when you know that there are others like you, the other people that have the same issues, concerns, or
gifts,
then you don't feel quite as alienated. But for so long, I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, is there anybody else like me out there? I don't have anybody to talk to about this, because I feel like if I talk to someone about it, they may ridicule me or laugh at me, or,
there's this deep kind of programming that there's something wrong with you if you have these gifts. And they really are gifts. And I think fear keeps a lot of people from really tapping in and actually pursuing or accepting this path. I know, especially here in the South, where religion and a very conservative mindset is very much a part of the culture. I know people who are very, very powerful
Mm-hmm.
have shut everything down because they're afraid they're
Yeah.
talking to the devil and they're going to go to hell and that's going to be
Yes.
the end of it.
Yes.
Like organized religion has instilled this deep fear that
Mm-hmm.
kind of, and mindset that kind of prevents people who are clearly having very powerful experiences of intuition or bilocation or expanded consciousness, having so much fear, it's actually shutting them down, and it actually separates them, and they end up in that same place we were just talking about, where they are literally
Right.
denying a part of who they are
Right.
and closing it off from fear. And
Right.
that's really sad to me, because I feel like we have to learn to embrace ourselves 100%, all of ourselves, our complete and whole selves, not just pieces of ourselves that are socially acceptable.
Right. Right.
Right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's how I felt. For a long time, I grew up in a very, very strict, organized religion that said that any type of contact, communication with anything,
Outside of
yourself, that was demonic. And I believed that heart and soul, growing up. So then in my 20s, after I left that particular religion, I struggled with, okay, so are these demons, or is this the devil, or what exactly is going on with me? Like, that was a huge struggle with me, because I had been so programmed that it was a bad thing.
I think at the same time, though, having had that and having had to work through that, don't you think that creates tremendous discernment?
Yes.
So there's like a
Yes, it
gift
does.
there's a gift in that, right? Because that really forces you to tune in even stronger in your alignment and go, does this feel resonant and in alignment and good for me, or does this feel off?
Right.
Because there's such a wide spectrum of energy, right? And
Right.
so I think it's really important that people are tuning into energies that are in alignment with themselves.
Right.
And that is something that I struggle with when I see people who are very wide open but completely not discerning.
I see what you're saying. That makes sense. That makes complete sense. And for so long in my life, I pushed aside my own discernment and gave greater weight to what somebody else thought I should do, or somebody else's opinion about what was best for me. And I completely ignored what I was feeling about what is best for me.
Yeah. How did you get to that space of trust, of trusting yourself? It must have been a long journey for you to actually honor that.
Yeah.
And stand
very
in your
journey.
power. How did you get to that space, and what was that like for you?
I would have to say that it was getting to that space. Oh man, it's taken so long, and I guess it's just come with life. I guess it's come with life, and from realizing really that nobody knows what is better for me than me. I'm connected to my higher self.
Right,
Nobody can tell me what's better for me than
you.
Yes,
then your higher aspect of you, to source, to God, whatever you want to call it. That's the key, right? Is to always stay in that column of light and stay aligned with yourself.
Right, exactly.
And it's difficult, don't you think, in our society, where people tell you that your opinion really doesn't matter, but fitting in does.
Yes.
So you should always sacrifice yourself to fit in. That's the message that is reinforced from day one. Once we go off to school, just like your aunt and your mom being like, don't ever do that again. You're like, that is not okay, right? And then so you're kind of programmed from an early age that really being authentic, especially if you're different, like we are, is totally not okay. And then you're labeled crazy when you really start to come out. Like, I've certainly been called that by family members. They probably still think it. They don't say it to my face. They really still think it now. It's okay, because I stand so fully in my power, and I know who I am and what I'm here to do.
Right.
We all have a mission.
Exactly.
We all have our role to play here to help humanity. And I can't allow the opinions of my 5 closest relatives to keep me from doing the work that I'm here to do, to help.
Exactly.
help
Exactly.
people. You know, you kind of
Exactly.
have to go through that inner push pull and then really lock in and align with your truth and go, no, this is who I am and this is who I'm here to be.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I agree with that. And that's been another journey for me, giving up the idea that I need everybody to be happy with me. I need everybody to like me. And I need everybody to think well of me.
Yes. Yes.
You
I
know?
was guilty of the same thing. And on top of it, I was a perfectionist.
Yes, me
Layer
too.
that on, layer that on. That's like, wow. We really created some difficult contracts for ourselves coming into this life. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
and you're going to have this, and you're going to do this, and people aren't going to agree with you and think you're crazy. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to find your way out and find your authentic voice and lock in to your
Right.
purpose and accept yourself completely, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. What was the tipping point, do you think? Was it just gradual, or do you think there were certain pivotal moments in this journey that got you really to see your value, see your gifts, accept and embrace yourself fully, and then be able to step out into the world and say, this is what I have to offer?
I would say it was actually quite gradual, but I do remember around 2006, 2007, 2008, all of a sudden I was becoming aware, like, of like, Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks with Abraham,
Yeah.
things like that. So I began to order all of these books from Amazon, and like the UPS truck was here once a day. Like, I had this insatiable appetite for knowledge, just not knowledge, but like spiritual knowledge. And um, through that knowledge, through just time or whatever, um, I almost feel as if in some way my spiritual purpose for life came into clearer focus. It made more sense for
Yeah.
me throughout a period of time of really deep soul searching, of really deep personal development through meditation, through learning how to connect with my higher self,
Yeah. Don't you
through
feel
all of
like
those things.
we go through like this sponge phase? I felt like I
Yes.
went through this sponge phase where same thing.
Yes.
I couldn't get enough.
Yes.
I was reading and reading and reading. I was absorbing all of this esoteric knowledge. I don't know, there was something that was driving me to just, and I didn't always agree with all of it,
Right.
but I would take something, and I kind of liken it to going down a buffet line, and you've got this
Uh-huh.
plate, and you're just like, yeah, this resonates, I'm bring this on, and this doesn't, I'm gonna let that go. But every
Uh-huh.
time you read something, right, you're kind of adding to your foundational
Right.
base of knowledge of things that resonate and make sense to you, and you're like, yeah, that kind of feels right,
Right.
and then you keep growing and expanding as you read and read and read. And then I kind of got to a place, and I don't know if you've gotten to this place also, Brandi, where all of a sudden I put all the books down, and then all of my knowledge just started coming from myself.
Exactly. Yes.
It's like all of a sudden I don't need anybody outside of myself. I
Right.
connect to my higher self. I get data streams and downloads from my higher self. That's where I get my education and my
Mm-hmm.
information, and it's pure and it's true for me.
Exactly.
It's no longer through the filter of any of these spiritual teachers or
Right.
authors outside of myself.
I completely agree 100%. Like, I've amassed a whole collection of books from when, from those years where I was searching and searching and
Mm-hmm.
learning. And now, it's rare if I even order a book anymore,
Yeah.
because I feel like everything that I need to know is within, just as, you
Yeah.
always say that it's
Yeah.
within. It's
Mm-hmm.
within.
100%. It's 100% within you. And it's almost not even, it's not even like you're getting new information. I found it's like I'm remembering.
Right. That makes sense.
Like there was a veil, and so there was a little amnesia
Mm-hmm.
for the last 1,000 lifetimes I've lived. All of a sudden the veil, is pulled away, and then all of a sudden you're getting all of this information, and it's all making sense. Like, oh, these, it's just so interesting how.
Right.
Does that make sense? Even like all that information was in there, but now it's being activated, and
right.
We're light encoded, and we're getting light encoded
right.
energetic messages and interpreting them in many different ways.
Right. I completely agree.
It's like you're, also I've found as I've gone on the journey, and maybe you have too, that the way I'm receiving information and interpreting information is different. Like,
really
it's changing, growing. Yes. It's like the way I interpret and read energy is different.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. Whereas before, maybe in the earlier parts of my development, I was very clairaudient, or I would see visions, or there were bits and pieces of information coming in all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's very cohesive, knowing, data streaming, just downloading, like boom, it's there, and then it's not like I'm getting bits and pieces as much.
I see what you're saying.
In one form.
Yeah. So it's more like claircognizance is what you're talking about, just clear knowing, huh?
Clear knowing, yeah. And quick downloading.
I found that for myself too.
Yeah.
But I feel mine's been more almost where I feel like my clairsentience is heightened, and I feel like my whole body will react to a certain situation, person, whatever. I feel like the information really comes in, I guess, through my feelings and my solar plexus.
Yes, I'm getting really that strong. Too. It's been a real strong physical confirmations of things.
Right.
Whereas before it'd be like a little twitch or something. Now it's like
exactly.
You're like,
yeah, your whole body.
You're like, oh. People are like, is she having a seizure over there or something? No, but it has become a lot more physical.
Right. I agree with that. I've had the same experience. And so my 4 children, they are all sensitive too. Very, very sensitive.
Wow.
And it's funny that the clair that's the strongest for all of them, like for these new children coming in, or for mine, I can say, the clairsentience is quite strong. The clairsentience is quite strong with all of them. And I know my younger, like my youngest son, he's got the clairaudience and the clairvoyance as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
You must have to keep a tremendous amount of energetic purity in your home when everybody is so sensitive to everyone else's energy. You must have to really clear your space and make sure everybody knows how to manage their emotions. And when you have 4 kids who have these kinds of gifts, and how does your husband respond to this? Your husband's a very scientific minded and obviously doctor.
Right.
You're cracking him open in a lot of ways, probably as you're growing. He's kind of in training with you, right?
Yeah, I think this was all new for him at first. He's always been very open. Believe it or not, when I was teaching Reiki, he was attuned. He sat through a Reiki class and was attuned by me. So he's attuned to Reiki. He's got that sensitivity. And when I look at his natal chart, he's also got the spiritual sensitivity as well. So he's never been unsupportive as far as this is concerned, but I know that there are some things that kind of weird him out. Like we've been having some issues like with my 9-year-old son at night. And I know that he's not making this stuff up where, he hears somebody walk into his room and then they stand in the doorway and he comes running down the stairs, in tears. And this happens night after night after night, with him. And I know that,
Have you been able to tune in and see what kind of energy that is or what that is?
Yeah, he's highly clairvoyant, some mediumistic ability. So, people come to see him at night when he's trying to sleep or when he's getting ready to go to sleep. And that's probably going to be something that he's just got to deal with for the rest of his life. But he's got to learn how to, I'm teaching him now to put up boundaries.
Yes.
Right.
Boundaries are huge because he gets to
Right.
He gets to turn the sign whether he's open for
Right.
business or closed.
Right. And he wasn't aware of that. And I told him, I said, Aiden, you can tell them, while I'm sleeping or I'm going to bed, you cannot bother me. I don't want to, and so he's learned how to do that. And, the last few days have been pretty good, uneventful for him, which is great.
No, it's really important because I think a lot of children that are coming in now are just completely wide open. And they're being born to parents who have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
So there's no awareness around energetic protection or,
right.
Clearing your field or just spiritual hygiene type things that can help these kids actually figure out how to create boundaries and manage and protect their energetic field.
Right, exactly.
So how awesome that he's got you as a mom so you can help him with that, but it's so tough to watch them go through that,
Yeah, it is.
What
I did to help him, just to make him feel a little bit better. There was this necklace that I had that was made at a Native American reservation, and it was blessed in a ceremony. So, when he's feeling really vulnerable at night, I just give that to him and say, okay, now, set your boundaries and maybe this will make you feel better. And for the first few nights, he loved wearing it. Mm-hmm. And now, he's saying, Mom, I don't need it. I'm okay. I can do it on my own. I don't need that. So
that's so great. Like he's intuitively already like, okay. But it was good for him to have that physical like talisman for a few nights till he got his confidence up, right?
And but then he realized from a higher part of himself, I don't need to rely on the physical object to, for protection, Yeah.
I think that's another thing that's so important too, right? Is we, as humans, we get really caught up in the ceremony of things or the physicality of the crystal or the this or the that or the sage or the really, those are really props.
Right.
Like we really have the power within us to clear and do everything that we need to do to clear our homes and protect our space and, protect our own energetic fields. But I think there's kind of a lack of awareness because people tend to do what everyone else does. Right. They don't realize that there are other ways to do things.
Right.
Or maybe sometimes you outgrow those practices. It's like we're always evolving.
Correct.
But there's always another level. There's always more knowledge out there. There's more expansion of consciousness. There's higher vibrational frequencies and ascension and places that we can reach. Mm-hmm. But we can't do that if we continually cling to what's comfortable and what's known.
Right. Change, transformation, growth. Oftentimes it's a difficult and an uncomfortable process. But, if you could just stick through what feels uncomfortable to come out on the other side and just see where, like when I look back and I think about where I was 10 years ago, I'm like, wow, and in my 30s, it was hard. I had 4 young children. It was really, really hard. But, when I was 31, I never would have imagined, in 10 years, I'll be doing X, Y, Z. I'll be doing this. It's unbelievable.
One thing you've been really great about is creating space for, really studying and honing your craft, whether it's, making space for us to connect in our development circle. And then you've studied under a lot of masters of all different types of things. And now you're moving into this really cool astrological natal chart reading. Maybe you can speak to us about that, how you found it, what it is that you love about it, what it is exactly that you do, because it's so fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's, and speaking of, 10 years ago, I remember somebody telling me, I'm studying astrology. Are you interested in that? I'm like, oh, no, I've got no interest in that at all. No, I'm never going to be interested in that, and here I am now. And
so passionate about it.
Yeah. The way that it happened was, so a couple years ago, John Edward, came to Houston for a demonstration, and I went. And one of the first things that he talked about that night before he went into his contacts with the spirit world, he spoke about how he doesn't go to anybody for readings. He doesn't feel like he needs readings from anybody. But there's one lady in Australia that he will see from time to time, periodically, for direction, is an astrologer, and her name's Maggie Kerr. So he told us about her from the stage. I wrote her name down and said, I'll have to schedule an appointment and see what it's about. It took me about 4 or 5 months later. I scheduled an appointment with her, and as she was going through my natal chart, it was quite interesting because she made the comment several times. Now, I usually don't do this with clients, but I'm going to teach you this. I'm going to do this with you because you've got it in your chart to understand it. Okay, I didn't know what she was talking about, but I was just like, okay, found it extremely interesting. So a few months later, I booked another session, and it's amazing. It's amazing to me how, when I look at my natal chart, it's like the blueprint of my soul, and so many of my life issues and challenges, my interests, my strengths, my abilities show up in that chart. So as she taught me more and more, I was just hooked. So she started teaching for the first time. She's got a class last January of 2019, and I've been studying with her since.
Wow.
Going through this program. Yeah, and I'm not only learning so much about astrology, but I'm learning so much about myself. I have this newfound sense of self-appreciation that I've really never had before at any other time in my life. Like, I know now when I think about, myself, I tend to be rather expressive and to talk with my hands, and I talk fast. And if you had asked me about that, let's say 20 years ago, I would tell you, oh, that's a really big that's a big drawback. I shouldn't use my hands. I shouldn't talk so fast. But after learning how to read my chart, I'm a Gemini rising. Of course, I'm going to use my hands, and we tend to talk fast, and we tend to think fast, and we tend to process fast. And I just know that's who I am. And it's nothing, there's nothing wrong with me. It's not a character flaw. So I've learned to appreciate these things about me that, before I thought, gosh, why do I do that?
And kind of understand that those are core essences within you.
Yes.
It's not like a conscious thing you turn on or turn off. That's part of who you are. And you can't deny that, right? So how cool that you've not only found this mentor in your life, but also that you're able to be on this path of self-discovery through the learning. Let's explain to people what the natal chart is, because people are probably like, what is that?
Okay. So at the moment that you're born, the natal chart is like taking a snapshot of the heavens right at the minute that you're born. So right when you're born, the sun's in a particular place, the moon's in a particular place, every planet is going to be somewhere, okay? And depending upon where the planets were, the houses that they were in, the signs that they were in, and the aspects, hard or softer aspects that were formed, you're going to come in with certain proclivities, certain challenges that you may have to face. Certain home life situations, maybe like a difficult childhood or this amazing childhood, or in the chart you can also actually see sometimes like the loss of a parent early on. Like, it's just all of these things are encompassed in this chart, and it's almost like I wish I would have had mine years ago, because it's almost like a map that's laid out saying, okay, Brandi, you've got your sun square the planet Uranus, so you're going to have some problems with people thinking you're a little bit too eccentric and people thinking you're a little bit too weird. And if you worry about that too much, it's not going to be good for you. What you've got to learn to do is be comfortable with your differences. Like, had I known that 20 years ago, oh my gosh.
Would have saved you a lot of struggle, right?
Yeah.
Have you done your kids' charts?
Oh, yes.
So have you talked to
everybody's?
So did you talk to them about it? Like, were they interested, or were they like, "Oh, Mom"?
Yes, that's what they do. So like every time I realize something different about their chart, and I start talking about astrology, it's like, oh, astrology again. Here we go again.
There's nothing more humbling than having children. They bring you like right back down to earth, which I think It's, you know, you could probably be the president of the United States and your kid's going to be like, are you going to be at my soccer game? Or, you know, like they just bring you right back down and remind you you're human, and they're so incredibly unimpressed by you.
You
and
know
mine
what
are
else?
anyways.
Yeah. But having the kids' natal charts, it also, I feel like it helps you to parent a little bit more responsibly. Like, so for example, I'll talk about like my oldest son. Okay. He's very reserved. He kind of likes to watch before he just jumps in.
Mm-hmm.
He may come across as a little like lacking warmth at times, right?
Yeah.
So before I pulled up his chart, I'm like, you know, what can I do to kind of break him out of that shell?
Yeah.
When I look at his chart, I see that's a life lesson. That's an area in life where he's going to need to focus. So instead of me having judgment for, hey, how come you're not more like me? Why can't you just go out there and talk to everybody? Why do you have to stand back? Instead of having that judgment, I've got compassion for him, because I see there's a path that's here that he's going to have to work through, and it's not always going to be easy. So from my end as mom, you've got nothing but compassion for me, son. You know, I see why you are the way you are.
Also, it allows you, that what goes hand in hand with that compassion is an unconditional acceptance of who they are.
Yes.
Like you see them instead of trying to force them to be who you think they need to be.
Exactly.
You get to actually see that soul imprint and go, oh, this is a core lesson for you in this lifetime. You came in to have this experience. So I am not going to compound it by forcing you to betray that and try to be this.
Right.
Right. Exactly. It's like, I'm going to allow you to be you.
Right.
Which, isn't that the biggest gift we can give our children?
Yeah, it's such a beautiful thing, that the gift of, I accept you fully for who you are and for not into who I want to make you into.
Yes, that took me a long, long time to get to that space. And I was very, for a while, I was sad that I didn't get to this place of knowing and open-heartedness and full acceptance and unconditional love until my kids were out of high school. Mm-hmm. But then I understood that it was all by design.
Right.
And all of our dynamics and all of the parenting styles and whatever, now that I look back, I mean, I would never be that parent now, knowing what I know about myself and how everything works from a higher perspective. Right. But it was exactly what we all agreed upon. Right. Before coming into this life, to mirror each other and force growth and have experiences that were going to set us up for these life lessons. Mm-hmm. So
exactly.
You know, I think a lot of times having the understanding that it's not the storybook, Facebook perfection that is real and creates growth and takes us where we need to be. It's really not that. It's really the struggle and the challenges and the mirroring we do for each other in our families and especially our nuclear families with our spouses, our children, our parents, our siblings.
Right.
Those are all by design.
Yes.
Right? To help us master ourselves and heal wounds. And it's kind of like pulling thorns out of our energetic field, right? It's like every time there's a pain, you kind of got to look at that and go, wow, what's that about for me?
Yes.
And
that's a beautiful way of putting it.
It's
beautiful
like you're pulling like thorns out of your field. You feel that sting and you feel that pain, and it forces you to actually pay attention and look. What's this about for me, right?
Yes.
And feel it a little while and then be like, all right, this doesn't serve me. And then you pull it out and you let it go.
Right.
Most people don't want to feel the pain, so they numb it.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm really in pain, so I'm going to go to the bar and have 5 shots and and feel better. Right. But, you know, then that pain is still going to be there unresolved.
Right.
So
exactly.
That's kind of the important thing is to be able to, I call it sit in the fire. Sit in that fire of discomfort.
Oh, I love the way you put that. Sit in the fire. I love that.
Yeah, I did a video, a bonus video as presenter on a conference, and I did this bonus video giveaway, and it was about just that. It was just about sitting in the fire of your pain, because you have to feel it for a reason, right? Look at it, feel it, then you can release it, right?
Right.
So it's been really interesting. This life journey is so fascinating, don't you think?
Yes, it's been a wonderful ride, and I'm just as I couldn't imagine 10 years ago that I'd be here today. I look forward to like the next 10 years, you know, just to see what the journey of life, what more will unfold, what more will come.
Think of how many people you can help by doing these, soul natal chart.
Oh yeah. I'm really passionate. I'm
readings.
very passionate. Yeah. Very passionate about it. Like, imagine that you get, you go to the store and you buy something, you know, an appliance or whatever, something that's got to be put together, but it comes with no instruction manual. Okay. You don't know really how to use it, how to put it together. All right. Mm-hmm. It's going to make it a little bit harder, to work through with that particular object. And it's the same way I feel like with the natal chart. Like, this is your set of instructions for life, like on watch out for this, you're going to be great with this, focus on this, you know, watch out for this particular issue and stay balanced. I love them.
Yeah, well, Brandi, I can't wait to see what unfolds for you. You know, I've always been a huge fan of your gifts and supporter, and I've believed in you from day one.
You sure did. You always have. You always have.
Beautiful, beautiful talents. And what I love is that you have been really great about just staying in your column of light, really staying aligned with your truth, your higher self, your alignment. And you're unstoppable when you stay in that space and don't deviate and don't get pushed and pulled, because I know a lot of people want you to try this or that or this or that, and so it's very powerful to be able to say, it's just not going to work for me.
Doesn't, and that's not something that I would have done I wouldn't have done that years ago. I would have thought, okay, I've got to keep everybody happy, so I'm going to ignore what I'm feeling and just go through with it. I've come to a place where it's not feeling right. I'm not doing it.
That's really huge. That's really huge. You know, also I think having the inner strength to honor your truth all the time requires setting boundaries.
Right.
And I've also found, for me, when I say no, I no longer need an explanation.
Yes.
I don't need to make it okay for the other person that I'm saying no. It's just like, that's just not going to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's
really powerful. I'm going to try that.
That's all I say. It's not, that doesn't work for me.
Right.
I don't need to justify or make an excuse. It just doesn't. Right. It's just a no. So that's a no. You know, like it just is. So that's kind of been interesting. You know, I've kind of gotten to that place, and that's really an empowered feeling, because you're honoring your truth completely and you're not having to make an excuse.
Right.
There's no justification. It's just like, that's just a no, or this is just, yes, I want to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So we're kind of go both ways. But anyway, I'm going to put Brandi's website information down below. If you want to reach out to her, you can contact her. Is the best way to reach you through Facebook or through the website or email? What's best for you?
Yeah, like if you go to the website and fill out the contact form, it comes to me as an email. That's usually the fastest way.
Okay, so I'm definitely going to include Brandi's information. She is, I can't say enough great things about her. Not just because she's a friend, but because I know she's so connected, she's so aligned, and she's going to do great things if you choose to work with her, and I hope you do. So
thank you so much, Wendy.
Thanks so much for your time today. It's always an honor to connect, share stories, and hopefully your story is going to inspire somebody to really live their best life and not hide pieces of themselves and have the courage to come out.
I hope so.
Be their authentic self and really step into their greatness, because every single person, I believe, is here to impact the world in their own way. Don't you think?
Right. Yeah, if this helps, if this helps just even if it's only
Yeah.
one person to say, okay, there's more to me, more to love, more to appreciate than I ever could imagine. If it only helps one person and makes one person feel that way, then
So worth it, right?
yeah, it's so worth it.
But hopefully it'll be more than one. Maybe it'll be two. I hope two of you out there got some really great info from us today. But anyway, thank you, Brandi. It's always an honor having you. And to my audience, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you all so much for hanging with me with my show, The Path of Me. Be kind to yourselves. We love y'all, and have a great day. We'll see y'all later. Okay.